for you, kid. Welcome aboard, Jan.
Thank you so much.
Well, my computer says zero. It says 1800, so. Let me get bring up the speech I have to make, and we'll get going here. Okay. Yeah, everybody ready to go? All righty, welcome aboard. I'd like to welcome everybody to this meeting of the Kitsap Parks Advisory Board. Before we start, I do have some opening remarks to make. Thank you for participating in our remote regular monthly meeting of the Kitsap Parks Advisory Board. We will do our best to facilitate a smooth meeting with public participation and ask that everyone be patient as we navigate this electronic platform. We have two formats for participation, the Zoom web application as well as teleconference. Before we begin, I want to review some guidelines and general instructions for the meeting. Please silence your other communication devices such as your cell or desk phone. This will ensure that we are not hearing any feedback or causing interruption during the meeting. During the meeting, all participants on Zoom, except for board members and county staff, will be placed on mute by the host. That means that you will not be able to mute or unmute your lines manually. The chair will announce for opportunities for public comment, which are included in the meeting agenda. For those on Zoom, if you would like to make public comment, please click the raise hand feature to signal that you would like to comment. The sound will be unmuted and the internet participant should announce their first and last name before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. For those calling in using the phone line only, if you would like to make public comment, please dial *9 on your keypad to signal you would like to comment. The last four digits of the call-in number will be announced, and call-in participants should announce their first and last names before speaking. The participant will be called upon to speak at the appropriate time. Please note, you can hang up or leave the Zoom meeting at any time. So, all righty. So first off, welcome and introductions. And we have a very special introduction. So we have Jan, who is our newest member of the board. Jan, would you like to introduce yourself and give us a sales pitch from you?
Thanks, Larry. Hi, all. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Jen Skalbeck. I'm a Kingston resident, and I already probably met some of you at the Eglon Park opening just recently as the commissioners were there, and they gave a little heads up that I would be joining the board. I'm really excited to get to work with y'all on just continuing to care for our parks and open spaces and making sure that they stay the amazing resources that they are for our entire community. I am a frequent user of our parks in terms of walking, hiking, biking, running, just about any activity. And my closest park is Arness Park. So look forward to getting to know all of the other board members as we go, and excited to be here.
Well, thank you very much. Now, for the rest of the board, go ahead and introduce yourselves, please. Don't be
I
bashful.
can
Somebody
start.
step.
Welcome, Jen, and I am Dawn. It's Jen, correct, Jen? I'm Dawn Doctor, representing District 2 down in the South End. Lisa, you want us to go next?
Sure. Hey, Jen. Welcome to the board. I'm Lisa. I'm on the north end, North Kitsap.
Nancy, are you with us? No. I think she's kind of going to be kind of intermittent on this one. Anyway, hi, everybody. Larry Walker, the soon-to-be former chair of the board. Just thought I'd toss that one out there. South Kitsap resident. So now let's, I'm looking at my menu. I think we're to staff now.
Thanks, Larry. Alex Wisniewski, Parks Director. Alex Hardy, you want to go next?
It's Alex Hardy, Admin and Event Supervisor.
And I'm Irene Weber, Natural Resource Program Supervisor.
And that's it, Larry, other
That's
than the wonderful Dee Tuttle managing the meeting for us.
The amazing Dee Tuttle. John has checked in with me. He says he's signing in. So Dee's probably got him in a holding pattern there. He's got a little bit of a cold and everything, so he probably will not be making comments.
I'm sorry to say, I don't see John on our list of attendees to promote unless he's under a different name.
I'll let him know that. Hang on here just a second.
Okay.
Hey, you know, us old people in technology, we have difficulties. So has everybody had a chance to review the September 17th meeting minutes? If there are no recommendations for any changes, I would entertain a motion to adopt.
I move we adopt the minutes from
Thank you.
whatever the date was again, the last meeting.
The
I
one you got to
second.
run.
And I'll
Okay.
second that. Second it.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Well, hearing no discussion, please indicate by raising your hand so we can see you on TV here. Opposed? And we have minutes. Excellent. Now, public comments. We do have a 3-minute limit per person. So public comments are welcome at this time. If you got questions or seeking information from the Parks Department, please contact us at parks@kitsap.gov so that your inquiry can be directed to the appropriate Parks Department personnel. So, Dee, do we have anybody waiting in queue?
Indeed, we do. We have Rebecca Wood, and I'm allowing you to talk. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Rebecca.
Hello, can you hear me?
There you go.
Great. Okay, I am providing public comment on the forest stewardship and restoration updates released by Kitsap County this year as they relate to Banner Forest. I am challenging the current plan to thin 426 acres of Banner Forest and add 3 miles of road. Although the county claims this is based on science to restore and maintain the ecosystem, I believe this is a false narrative. We have seen the damage from similar projects already conducted at Coulter Creek and Square Lake. I have walked those parks and observed unhealthy vegetation, species poor, mainly comprised of invasives. The trees there are not thriving and there's little bird and insect life. This is a stark contrast to the present conditions in Banner Forest, where I have observed a rich and diverse flora and fauna. I do know a little bit about what I'm talking about because I do have a master's degree in ecology. The proposed use of heavy equipment will destroy a very rich and diverse understory in Banner Forest, and building the roads in the forest will destroy what we have. There are many in South Kitsap community who are upset with the county on the current plan, and we want the county to listen and not to destroy what we have. The Banner Forest that so many enjoy in its present form. I am advocating for the county to work directly with the community and with forest stewards and to change your plan. I hope that the county takes public comment as a tool to make necessary adjustments, not as a formality to ignore the community and continue regardless. I also find it quite worrying as I see references in the plan to substantial timber revenues. We do not want Banner Forest sacrificed in the name of county revenue, and that would be disguised under restoration and treatment. The plan, as it is, will result in reduction in ecological value and, most importantly, a reduction in the quality of life for Kitsap residents. And that is the end of my public comment.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. I would speak to that, to your concerns right now, because about 2-3 weeks ago, I sat down and had a one-on-one with Commissioner Root about this subject, and he indicated to me, I'm not going to write checks on the man's bank account because that'll get me in trouble. It'll get Alex in trouble too. But he is very interested and wants to take dynamic participation in this issue. So he's kind of asking to be very much in the forefront and lead on this. So you can rest assured that y'all's voices have been heard quite loudly, and you have a seat at the table at this point. So anyway, thank you very much. Dee, do we have anybody else?
We do, and I'm allowing Joe Lubisher to talk. Go ahead, Joe.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, so this procedural, this is something I've seen before in the past. So it's my impression that when you do meeting minutes, they should accurately reflect what happened. And as I look at these last meetings, on the comments that were made about Banner Forest, there's what, 9 people commented? And you have no idea at all what their comments were from the minutes. And I don't think that's fair. That I think proper minutes should say, or at least fairly summarize what those comments were. And I would say the same thing about the summary of my own comment. From reading these minutes, you wouldn't know that there was any kind of issue involved at Banner Forest, right? So I think some corrections are due in your procedures there. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, now, any other comments?
Yes, we do have an additional one, and that is Alan Marshall, allowing you to talk. Go ahead, Alan.
Second.
Alan, go ahead.
There we go. Okay, I think you can hear me now.
Got you loud and clear, Alan.
Great, excellent. Hey, good evening. I am Alan Marshall, a farm owner engaged in multiple forestry-related efforts and raising sheep in Southworth near Banner Forest Heritage Park. I have 3 quick points to make in my few minutes. But first, thank you, Park Board, for your efforts. A special thanks also to Alex for coming down to listen to our Banner Forest area community in a recent gathering. Number one, I assert and propose that there should be no heavy equipment used in the delicate Banner Forest ecosystem currently under rejuvenation. So underlining the first speaker wholeheartedly, it is on the cusp of nearly becoming old growth again if we treat it delicately. Hand thinning, sure, maybe, but no heavy equipment with unhinged contractors opening up corridors for invasives and smashing the delicate undergrowth. Number two, the draft June 2025 forestry plan written by the county forester does not seem to align with the presumably still active 2015 Banner Forest Management Plan, which had a deep history and a lot of effort put into. It did not seem to involve community input, which could have provided significant expertise documenting forestry, mycological resources, and community utilization patterns by senior citizens like myself, local high school running teams, the horse community, and everybody in between. And it does not seem to respect decades of effort by people in the surrounding communities of Olalla, Port Orchard, and elsewhere who have worked with the county for decades to preserve and enhance that precious resource. Third and final point, our local community desperately wants to assist the county to help steward Banner Forest, but the county appears not to be facilitating local stewardship community interests. There's been lack of connections, meetings, outreach, response, enablement of use of local resources like the Long Lake Community Center to have a meeting. There's not an active engagement with the local community here. And to that same point, although I'm just beginning to understand and research this, I may not have the complete perspective, but my gut is that we do not accept what seems like trail maintenance outsourcing to the WTA, the Washington Trails Association, as a complete substitute for an actively engaged stewardship relationship. There are a lot of people in this area that want to and have been stewards, and I'm sure the WTA does a lot of good. I know there's also some criticism of them. I'm not here to bark on that tree. Thanks for everybody who volunteers in whatever capacity. But the steward program was part of the charter for the forest, and we want to have a working relationship with the county. Thank you very much. That's what I had to say.
Well, thank you, Alan. Dee, do we have anybody else?
We do not have any further public comment, but I do want to confirm if Judy's iPad Air is our John Pearson PAB member. Judy's iPad Air is the name of the login, and you're allowed to talk. If you could unmute and let us know if this is John Pearson.
No, it's not.
No,
Okay.
I just got a message from John, and he is not going to be able to participate tonight.
Thank you, Larry.
Certainly. Okay, well, moving forward now. Next thing on the agenda is nominating subcommittee. We are coming to the end of the terms of duty for chair and vice chair, and it's time to set up people are, I guess, set up as a really bad to use of terminology to nominate incoming chair and vice. I am safe because this is the end of my second year, so I am ineligible to be chair again. But I would like some volunteers who would like to look this over and make recommendations at this point. Do I have any volunteers, or do I have to start drafting people? Dawn, I see your hand raised, so thank you very much.
I am volunteering to be on the nominating committee, correct?
Yes, that's volunteering to be on the nominating committee.
Just making sure.
Still doesn't make you safe. I was on the nominating committee last time, and somehow I ended up getting drafted anyway. So, you know, that's what happens when you go to the bathroom during a meeting. Anybody else? Lisa, you want to get involved? Nope. No. Jen? It'll give you a chance to meet meet members. It's really not that hard.
What's the time frame for the duties of the nominating committee?
Alex, keep me honest here. Get the we nominate and seat in January, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. The intent is to try and have the new board in place for the start of the January meeting.
So the January meeting would start off with me running it, yeah. You know, worst case scenarios, the meeting would start out with me running it, and then we'd hold elections right off the bat, and then new board would take over and I'd run for the hills. I mean, I would fade into the background. I'm hearing nothing but crickets here. Like I said, Jen, it would be a fun way to meet new people.
I was like, I will join the nominating committee if volunteers are needed.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And we do need a third member. I'm not hearing a big stomping at my door. So Alex, can we send a message out to the board looking for volunteers next week?
Sure.
And then, okay, appreciate that. So I don't want to use up everybody's valuable time tonight, although we don't have to worry about watching the Mariners in the World Series. So moving along, events and policies update. Alex.
All right, everyone's favorite subject, event policies. And it's kind of like the pros plan 2.0 here, where we're really taking our time on it to get this done. But let me share my screen. All right, is everyone able to see that? Awesome. All right. So I have a quick PowerPoint. This is the same PowerPoint that I presented to the commissioners earlier this week on Monday. That goes through the history of our event policies, as I know this might be new to some of you. And then I'll go through the specific changes that we are making to the policies, specifically the fees, and then turn it over for questions. I would also like Nancy, who is a participant on the Visitor Services Subcommittee, to have a chance to speak about the process and give her thoughts on the policies. So as a reminder, the current policies that we have in place are from 2019. So going back then to 2019, the Parks Department's main focus was producing the fair, the annual fair event. So events were kind of an afterthought or something we did on the side for additional revenue, where the fair was the main focus point. Back in 2019, the fair split up from the Parks Department, and it was turned into a nonprofit association to produce the fair, where we are more the support with our facilities and the fairgrounds. During that time, we contracted with KCS Consulting to come in and do a long-term sustainability study on the Fairgrounds and Event Center facility rental program. This study focused on our current policies, the fees, and looked at ways we could generate additional revenue or improve our facility rental program. Also in 2019, we did update our athletic field policies specifically for Gordon and Lobe fields. Those policies were designed to align with the Central Kitsap School District rates, as well as our Central Kitsap interlocal agreement, which does give the Central Kitsap School District priority access to Lobe fields as well as Gordon fields in that 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. range. So that is why, Larry, that answers that one question from Linda earlier about why do schools have priority access. So we do have an interlocal agreement with the Central Kitsap School District for them to have priority access to the Lobe and Gordon fields. It's not applicable to the North End fields or the South End fields. And then those policies were formally approved by the Board of County Commissioners in 2019. So continuing into 2020, this is where we approved our current policies for the Fairgrounds and Event Center. These policies were designed and based on the study that KCS Consulting conducted in 2019. So they focused on having cancellation policy language and consistent fee structures. When I came on in 2019, it seemed like every event was on a different fee or pay scale. There were different cancellation rules. It was kind of the Wild West of events, and there was not any consistency. So the whole point of those policies in 2019 was to align all of our events and bring them up onto the same fee structure. So moving into 2021, this is when Alex Wisniewski joined the Parks Department, and during that time, we did a reorganization of our department and oversight. So the event program, when I came on, was focused strictly on the fairgrounds and all the facilities there. But during the 2021 time, we then expanded the event program to include athletic fields in the South End, North End. We also brought the picnic shelters, those rentals into the events program, the community buildings, and special parks events. Those were all previously under maintenance and operations. And so those operated on different policies and different language than the fairgrounds and facility rentals. During that time, it was also the pandemic, which had shut the events down. So it was a very exciting time where events and what the CDC recommended changed week to week. So a lot of our time was just spent on keeping up with the guidelines for the COVID pandemic and how we could operate and have events while staying in compliance with that. 2022 to 2023, this was really when events started coming back online after the pandemic. So with the expansion of the event program, my team and I started doing research. We were trying to figure out what events were going on in our parks. As again, it was new. We were trying to learn and figure out what events were going on, what type of support and resources they needed from the Parks Department. What we had found is a lot of times in the past, we didn't have any really guidelines for park events. So the events were like, it's a public park, come and do whatever you want. It's your space. So 2022 to 2023 was doing a lot of outreach and just making contact with events, trying to get them on our user agreement. And during this time, it was the standard $25 admin fee, which is what events are still paying to this day for any event in the park. With that, we maintained our existing policies for rentals. So those policies that were designed for the fairgrounds and event center were used to cover our park events. They were used to cover picnic shelter rentals. They were used to cover community buildings. And they were also used for our athletic fields, which you can probably understand creates some challenges and some gaps in our service, and definitely areas where we can improve. And the last thing to touch on from that timeline is we also implemented a new event booking software system. I know it's Larry's favorite, RecDesk. And so this RecDesk has really made a dramatic difference with our ability to process events and bookings. It has streamlined things and created more capacity within our department and has made things a lot easier for us to manage and track in terms of events and the data from events. So moving into 2024, this is when my team and we started working to address the concerns or kind of gaps within our policies. And so we worked to gather community feedback so we could work on updating our policies across the board. And if you recall, I did come to the board last year to share kind of drafts of those policies. And with that, took all the feedback we received and worked on incorporating that feedback into the current drafts and what I'm presenting to you today. So with that, we've introduced changes addressing the event fees, special park events. There's been a lot of legal updates, which is part of the reason why it's taken a couple of years to move this forward. It went from one document to 5 different policies and a complete reorganization of all those policies. So imagine trying to do a legal document, but having to do it 5 times and then making sure if you make changes to one document, it gets made all the way through. So it's taken some time to get there. And I'm sure if you've had a chance to review those documents, you might see some typos or errors. So if you have seen any of those, please send them my way. I know I talked to Dawn earlier today, and I really appreciate her pointing out some of those. So please send them, email them to me, email them to Alex. I will incorporate those typos and fix them so that we have a really beautiful document when we're all done with this. For the event policies, as I mentioned, it went from 1 policy into 5 different policies. Those policies are broken up into categories. So we have our athletic fields, community buildings, our fairgrounds and event center, picnic shelters, and special park events. So starting with our athletic field policies, the main updates that we made to the athletic field policies was aligning our grass field rental rates. So previously we had some of our grass fields at $18 an hour and others were at $20 an hour. So we have aligned those all to be at $20 an hour. We've aligned our booking schedule with the high school athletic programs, as well as all the leagues that we coordinate with, so that everyone has can request fields on the timeline that works with their schedules and their needs. And then we introduce field priority and a designation process to ensure fair and equal access to all of our fields. Moving on to our community buildings, the main focus for the updates to the community buildings was removing a lot of unnecessary language. As I mentioned, the policies before were for the fairgrounds and event center. And when the larger events at the fairgrounds and event center require additional permits and require more information and more content than what we need from a user who's coming in to rent a community building. So we removed a lot of that unnecessary language. And then for the fees, we have updated the fees so it's consistent year round. So previously, our fees were seasonal and then out of season, but we have enough demand on our community buildings to have just consistent pricing year round for all 3 facilities. And then lastly, we updated our banquet fees. For those who don't know, banquet fees are related to alcohol. So if a renter is wishing to have alcohol at their event, we have 2 different fee types now. Previously, we just had 1 fee type. So the first fee type we have now is those who are, for example, having a wedding and they just would like to have a champagne toast during their ceremony. They're not selling it. It's not something they're making a profit off of. So that banquet fee type is $200 per event. And then the second type is for those events that are actually selling it and turning a profit or making money. And that fee is $400 for the banquet fee. Moving on to our fairgrounds and event center policies. For these policies, we did not make a ton of changes. The biggest things were we updated our equipment rental fees. So equipment that we've retired and do not have anymore, we removed from the policies, as well as added new equipment that we've upgraded our facilities with. We did increase rental rates for the President's Hall, as well as the sheep barn. So for the President's Hall, we did increase it by $100 a day for the rental. And then the sheep barn, we increased it by $50 a day for the rental. When we get into the fee comparison, I will go through as to why we've made that justification. And I'll get into more specifics on it. We then also added fees for our parking lots and open spaces and for road closures. So one thing the pandemic did was it increased the number of events or groups looking to use outdoor spaces for events. So we did not have any rental rates for our parking lots at the fairgrounds. And we do get quite a few groups looking for car shows or use of our parking lots for food vendors or event space. So we added fees for those into our policies. And then the same banquet fee updates that we made to the community buildings, we built into the fairgrounds there. So it's consistent across the board. Moving on to picnic shelter rentals. For the picnic shelters, we, again, just like the community buildings, we removed a lot of the unnecessary language from the policies so that it's simpler and easier for the user to digest and understand. For example, anyone renting a picnic shelter, they don't need to provide the insurance or indemnification that other groups renting a larger facility would have to. So all of that was removed. The other thing we did is we removed our half-day rental options. With our staffing levels, we do not have the capacity to get out and service our picnic shelters twice a day. So regardless of interest, we're only able to do 1 picnic shelter rental a day. So with that, we do just have a 1-day flat rate for the picnic shelter for that day. And then with that, we updated our fees to be based on shelter size and amenities. So for example, we have Salisbury here, which is in the picture, Silverdale Waterfront Park. Those facilities have water, they have electrical access. And so those are in a higher category and will be a little bit more than, let's say, Wildcat Lake or South Kitsap Regional Park, which is simply just the shelter with picnic tables. So we did group our shelters based off of the amenities that they provide as well as size. And then lastly, the special park events. This is all new, this entire policy. This has never existed for our Parks Department. All the language, we used what we could from the other policies, but a lot of what we found is not everything transfers over. So we had to create a lot of new policy and language specific to park events. And then we came up with a new hourly rental fee structure based on the event type. So when we get into the fee comparison document, I'll go through what that looks like. But again, this was based off of feedback from last year, as well as feedback from the subcommittee, where, I think it was people were concerned about having fees for trail impacts or the events that would impact our events or our parks in a greater capacity than, let's say, like an educational event. So with the hourly fee structure based off of event type, we're hoping we captured the impact in the policies here. Before I go into the fee comparison document, does anyone have any questions? Lisa?
It's not a question. I just want to say you've done an incredible job with this packet. I know how much work you put into it. And I just wanted to thank you for all the hard work you did.
Thank you. I really, I appreciate that. My staff appreciates it. We have spent a lot of time. And so we're really proud of what we ended up getting to. And I think the feedback we received and reevaluating really made these policies even stronger. So we're really proud of the work we've done on them.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me share my screen again and pull up the fee comparison document. Let me try to make it a little bit bigger here. All right, how is that?
Alex, maybe you could zoom in a little bit and maybe closer to the width of the page. There you go.
Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Thanks.
Okay. All right, so I'll go through the athletics fields here first. Here you can see the facility in the far left column. The next column, this is our proposed fee for the new policies. The next column here, this is our current fee, so what we are charging now. And then the last column is an explanation for the increase or change to the fee structure. So as I mentioned earlier, the biggest thing for athletic fields was the aligning our grass fields. So they're all on the same hourly rate. So currently they were at $18 an hour for all of the fields except Gordon Field 2, which that was at 20. So we did bring everything up to $20 an hour there. And then we are keeping our synthetic turf field at Gordon Field 1 at the $40 an hour. The only other change for athletics was our field lights. We historically have been charging $22 an hour, but we are proposing increasing those to the $25 an hour. Just with the utility rate increases and the inflation we have seen since 2019, the $25 an hour does align more with the current costs of our lights to operate the lights. The other change we made in athletics was we previously Lobby 1 and 4, we had fees for dragging and lining the fields included, so in the hourly rates. With our staffing, we are moving towards having the user line and do the dragging. We will still do the everyday maintenance of the fields, but we do not provide that service at any of our other fields. So with that, we still have our press box and scoreboard at the fields at the fairgrounds. So for use of those, it's a $30 add-on fee for those use and access to those facilities. But those are the only changes to athletics. So I'll move on to our community buildings. For the community buildings, we have the Eagles Nest, Island Lake, and Long Lake. All 3 facilities are on the same fee structure. So I have them broken out separately here. However, they are all on the same fee structure. So what we currently do is in the summer rates, we would require $600 a day, Friday through Sunday, and then $50 an hour for Monday through Thursday. So they could do hourly only on the Monday through Thursday. And then we had winter rates where they could do the $600 a day or $50 an hour, even Friday through Sunday. Our facilities are in demand enough, so we have changed that where we dropped the winter rates. So it will be year-round $600 a day. We will only do day rentals Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If someone wants to do a day rental Monday through Thursday, that's fine. It's still the $600 a day, or they could do a $50 an hour fee. And then moving on to the fairgrounds, I will say our pavilion stayed the same. As I mentioned, the President's Hall is one that we are changing. We did increase it by $100 as it was previously priced at 6 cents per square foot. In doing our research and comparing our facilities to other facilities in the area that are similar, we found the industry standard is 7 cents to 8 cents a square foot. So we brought it up to $1,300 per day, and that's with the 7 cents per square foot. So it just aligns us with standards that we found in our research. Moving on, with the Van Z building, we previously just charged a flat $600 a day rental, but we did build in an hourly rate as we do get people interested in renting that hourly. So that would be the only change there, and it's aligned with our community building rental rates. For the barns, as I mentioned, the one we are looking to increase is our sheep barn. The reason being is the sheep barn is one of our only barns that has heat available to it. It is also used year-round for roller derby practice. It's also used, we have disc golf who will use it in the winter months for putting and indoor events. So it gets a lot of hourly use, as well as with the heat costs. We increased the rental rate just by $50 a day. And we also added an hourly rental rate to accommodate those groups who are renting it hourly year round. And then I will jump down. I'm sorry if I'm making you sick. I'm trying not to. So this next section is all new in the fairgrounds policies. This is the open space, our parking lots. And to develop this, we went with a consistent 1 cent per square foot fee across the board. So every facility at the fairgrounds, we measured and assessed the rates based off of that 1 cent per square foot. So there's consistency across the board there. And then jumping down into our equipment fees, one thing to call out in here is we did add, sorry again for the scrolling. One of the biggest change was our electrical. We did combine our electrical fees here. Previously, so we use spider boxes to run electrical to all the booths in the pavilion for an event. And these were itemized before. However, what we were finding is once we run the electrical, everyone in the building has access to it. So doing it we used to have like a per booth charge, which doesn't really work because once you run it, every booth has access. So what we did is we did combine that into a flat rate fee. And a lot of what we have found in doing our pricing and looking at it is the pricing comes out to about the same. It just makes it easier for us to track and manage. The other new fees in our fairgrounds is pipe and drape. This was a service that we previously contracted out and had a group come in and perform this service. And about a year and a half, 2 years ago, my events maintenance and operations team took over this service. So we purchased all new pipe and drape, and this is now a service we do in-house. And so these are new fees that we did not have before. And the other thing I would touch on here for the fairgrounds is overnight camping. This is not something we promote or do outside of events. So overnight camping is only allowed at the fairgrounds to those who are coming in for an event. And with that, we created new rental fees for it. So we have, if an event, sometimes we just have an event with maybe 1 or 2 RVs. So we wanted to have, kind of a by the number type of fee structure. But then we also have events that come in with closer to 100 units. The events are then turning around and selling RV space to those who are coming. So they are making a profit off of the RV spaces that they are selling to their users. So with that, we would coordinate with the event host, charge them the flat fee or whatever fee is appropriate, and then they would be able to manage and track or charge their users or event attendees however they feel. Lisa?
Does that include water and power hookup, or is that just for dry camping?
Just dry camping.
Okay.
We don't have water hookups or enough electricity to accommodate the current RVs that we're seeing. I mean, the RVs now are quite incredible with their TVs and air conditioning, and they're quite fancy. So our facilities are not really compatible with that. So it's dry camping.
Okay.
The next group here, this is our picnic shelters. As I mentioned previously, these are now being grouped by the amenities. And they are day rates. We previously did half-day rates with the intention of having multiple events per day. But with our staffing levels, that is just not possible. So we did do a lot of research on this, and I know it looks like a very steep increase here. However, we For example, looked at the city of Bremerton, a lot of their picnic shelters are 120 or more a day for the rental. Same with Tacoma, Seattle. So in our research, we did feel like this was reasonable and in line with industry trends for our picnic shelters, especially the top group here, where they do have water access as well as electrical. So they can bring in crock pots, they can bring in, anything and plug it in. So not only are they using water and electricity with increased utility fees, we just felt like this was appropriate for that first group. The next group is our group B. These are standard shelters. They do not have water, they do not have electricity, but they are larger shelters. And so with that, we went with the $120 a day. And then lastly, we went with $80 a day for Harper Park and the Silverdale Waterfront Gazebo, which are quite smaller. The other thing we are doing with the picnic shelter rentals that we have not done previously is we are adding the nonprofit discount and making it available for our picnic shelter rentals. So previously, it did not matter whether you were for profit or a nonprofit, it was the same rental fee. But now, if you are a nonprofit and looking to rent one of our picnic shelters, you would receive a 25% discount off of the daily rate there. And then lastly, I think I'll jump into our special park events. As I mentioned previously, we developed, based off of the feedback from the Parks Advisory Board last year, as well as our stakeholder feedback, we developed hourly rental rates by event type. So with that, we wanted to look at events that would have a larger impact, not only on the park infrastructure, but also the ability for other community members to use and access those parks. So with that, we found larger events such as festivals and concerts or bike events. These would be at a $57 hour rate. Whereas like if you're looking to host a wedding or a smaller gathering, walking or running events, these would be at the $34 an hour rental rate. Parking lot rentals, disc golf events, and educational events, those tend to have a lesser impact. So we went with the $18 an hour for those rental rates. And then lastly, oh, Dawn.
Can I ask a question about these that we just talked about, these special events?
Mm-hmm.
Do they have like an area, like some of the others, parking lots and things were charged by area, so the larger area used. And I don't know if that pertains to any of these or if it's any, I mean, it's just time for no matter how large of an area you use.
For parks, it would be based more on time rather than size. And typically with park events, we're not looking at renting out our parking lots in the same capacity we would rent them out at the fairgrounds. We have the parking lot rentals is more, for example, Kitsap Transit. They use one of our parking lots to do driver training and testing for their drivers. And it's usually done in the morning when the park is not open or used, not very busy. So it doesn't have a very large impact. But it's not taking away parking from the community and people being able to access. Another group would be like at Horseshoe Lake. When we close that park for the winter season, the camp that's located next door, they have large events and like to use our parking lot for overflow parking, but it's not during the season. So that's something we would never, let's say, we wouldn't book out the Port Gamble parking lot on a busy summer weekend.
Okay. And so then if you have, say, 100 people or 1,000 people, I'm just exaggerating, but the price is the same per hour?
It depends on what the event type would be.
Okay.
Yeah. So like, for example, the festivals or concerts, that would be whaling days at Silverdale Waterfront Park. I know Nancy, her group does the turkey trot. So that would be at Newberry Hill, that would be a walking and running event. We do have, for example, a group at South Kitsap Regional Park interested right now in potentially doing a farmer's market there. So that would be the other event.
I do have a question.
Okay, Nancy.
Okay, so two different things. The turkey trot, the park is not closed to other people being on the trails at all. There's always people that come in there's so many different entrances that they're coming in and just doing their normal walking. And so I think that saying it's exclusively rented for this group is, maybe, I don't know. We welcome other people and they're there with their dogs. It's not a big deal. But the other one I was going to mention is, for example, Silverdale Waterfront Park Pavilion. I rented that for my hiking group for a picnic. And I asked at least 4 groups who just came in and sat down. And there was one tiny little sign that it took me quite a while to actually find, because it was on the backside of where I would have expected it to be, that said that the facility was rented. But there was really nobody to back me up. I mean, we wound up letting a lot of people stay, but it was, it either needs to be, okay, this is clearly rented by somebody and nobody else should be there, or I think that we've always gone out to Scenic Beach State Park, which was a little bit more expensive than what I paid this summer. But this is significantly higher now than what I paid this summer. And I would not come back there if I was paying that much. It was too awkward with trying to ask people to move from where they were sitting. And there was a homeless gal sleeping on the kitchen counter thing. And there was no parks people there to help out. So I think you need to be aware that this is the challenge somebody's going to have if they're renting that. And that's a lot of money for the facility. The Scenic Beach place, which accommodates almost as many, is I think 85 or 90 for the day instead. But I wanted to try something different, and so we did that. But anyway, so I'm just pointing out these are 2 things personally that I'm involved in that that jump in that fee structure on that Silverdale Pavilion, if you're going to make it that much money, then the Parks Department needs to see to it that they have the exclusive use of that facility. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. No, those are challenges that we've been working to address, specifically picnic shelters, with limited staffing and not having staff dedicated to being able to get out to all the parks and ensure everything's set up. This year we did install kiosks at all of them, so we could put up the signs with the permit showing that. I'm sorry you had a difficult time finding it, but we We did make improvements this year, and I know we will be doing another recap meeting with our maintenance and operations team here going into the next season to see what other improvements we can make. We also collect feedback after events. We do surveys to our picnic shelter users, all of our facility users, looking for feedback so we can look at ways at improving our customer service and making things easier for our users.
I don't think I got a survey, and my suggestion would be, if you're going to charge that kind of money for that facility, you should have some kind of a ribbon with flags that you can reuse repeatedly that ties off the entire circumference of that facility, for the day, that they can have a way to get in and out of, but it's a barrier, because people were coming up from the waterfront. They weren't coming from the street. And the only person that could see the sign would have been if they were absolutely parked right there at that position on the street. And I do think that's a lot of money, considering I would have been upset if I'd have paid that and had to chase off a homeless person and, have like 8 different small groups of people coming in and using picnic tables. I finally just resorted to asking to move to the further end of the facility. So anyway, it's a nice facility, but that's my feedback. The Newberry Hill, I think we're only there for, we're there at 5 o'clock in the morning, but we're only using it from 8, and we're out of there by 11. We're only using it for a couple of hours that there's actually people on the trail, and there's other people there too. So anyway.
Right. And that would be one thing. None of our park events are exclusive use. Where at the fairgrounds, we can do that for our facilities. A lot of these events that we can't close our parks. They're open to the public. So that's where trying to develop the fee structure. For example, festivals and or concerts at Silverdale Waterfront Park, I'll use Whaling Days. That makes that park where you cannot access it. Was same with some of the bike events up at Port Gamble. It makes it difficult to access those trails. So we wanted to have a fee that reflected that. So whereas, your walking or running event, people are still able to access the trails. So it's a lower rate. Are there any other questions? Or Nancy, do you want to talk about some of the subcommittee participation? I know Jessica also participated on it, and we've had multiple meetings, so I'm not sure if you want to touch on that.
Not really, because I didn't. I'm not going to go there right now.
Okay. Well, to fill everyone in, Jessica and Nancy, we met back in June to review the draft of the policies, this fee comparison document we went through, and they reviewed the draft policies and solicited their feedback. We also, at that same time, conducted surveys with our stakeholders on the feedback. So we shared all the policies with our user groups for all the facility types, and took those feedback and updated it into these current policies. I met with Nancy and Jessica again in August, where we went through all of the feedback, addressed any concerns they might have. Based on that, these are the policies then that we sent to legal to conduct their final review, and that is what is being proposed or in front of you today.
Alex, I do want to say this is not the same things that when we reviewed it and I said this looks a lot better. This is not the numbers that were on that time. They've been changed since then.
We have not changed the fees since then. The everything we changed, we discussed in August. So the hourly rates and the events that you said you really liked and supported, this is what was this is what it is. We haven't changed them.
I don't believe I saw the details. I certainly would have noticed that change in the pavilion in Silverdale waterfront. And it was more like a flat fee on the run versus an hourly. So I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't feel this was what I reviewed. And the meetings kept getting changed and stuff. So anyway, I just needed to say that because, you know, and I haven't had a chance to fully review this because I didn't get it till this morning. And it was 200 and some pages.
Nancy, this was shared with you 3 weeks ago. And you were on the subcommittee and reviewed this multiple times over the past few months. These are the same numbers and costs that I have reviewed over the past few months. This hasn't changed. The allocation of the fees has changed drastically since we initially brought this to the Parks Advisory Board about a year ago. At that time, we were trying to balance an impact based on number of people and length or amount of park impacted, and that caused some confusion and frustration. And so we kind of went back to the drawing board and came up with this new methodology that other parks departments are using. This is what through Alex and her team's research, they kind of discovered and said, hey, this might be a solution for us to move forward away from the previous fee structure. And so that is where what we have before the Parks Advisory Board this evening. The entire policies Alex sent to the subcommittee 3 weeks ago, sent to the full Parks Advisory Board 2 weeks ago, and we are, having a conversation this evening and hoping to get to a point, if the Parks Advisory Board is comfortable to, make a recommendation this evening. If not, then would like to know why and what additional information the PAB might be interested in for a future meeting.
Well, when I got the document this morning, it was huge, and I had other things going on in my day that did not allow me to dig into this. So apologies, but I just, there was no way to go through the whole thing.
Lisa?
Thanks. I do have one suggestion that kind of comes to mind. It seems like enforcement is a big issue with like signs at the kiosk and at the picnic shelters, and monitoring the trails and speed limits and people out of control out there in the bike park and whatnot. Maybe that's something stewards could take a role in also, because, there's a lot of volunteers that are out there all the time. And I'm constantly yelling at bikers now. It's getting really frustrating, but I'm yelling at them saying, hey, there's a speed limit on this trail, because people don't care. There's no signs posted at the park trailhead. So how would a biker know? They get out of their car and they get on the trail and then they blast off as fast as they can, and nobody's there to enforce anything. And so enforcement seems to be something, you might want to put out there, like, as a suggestion for volunteers, or, I'm going to start wearing an enforcer shirt and walk around the parks with it. doesn't have to say park district on it and just say enforcement, and then I can at least get away with yelling at people. So that's just my idea, because it's out of hand. Seems
Is there
like.
a speed limit posted in Fort Gamble? I don't
There
remember
isn't
seeing
one
one.
at the Stottlemyre trailhead. There's nothing about sharing the trails with walkers or equestrians, nothing about speed, nothing about e-bikes, and that's at the beginning. All it says is no motorized vehicles. And
So,
that's at the new trailhead at Stottlemyre that's full of potholes right now, very big ones. Anyway, again, so just bringing that up.
well, maybe you and I, we could talk or discuss ideas for about enforcement some other time. But I will say in the policies, we have added language that puts the responsibility onto the event host to put up signage, especially at trails that intersect or cross, as well as have trail managers who are out there kind of helping with flow. And then with the addition of these policies, I'm looking to have my staff be more visible and get out there so we can have more eyes on the events in the parks and help with some of that enforcement. But definitely open to other ideas and suggestions as well.
Excellent.
Well, I don't think you were talking about events, were you? I know that the bikes are scary at Fort Gamble, just on a random day. Any of the trails, if you're trying to walk and there's mountain bikers and they come up behind you, quite frankly, when I'm at Green Mountain, I'd rather have a motorized motors coming down than a mountain bike, because I can hear them motorized. When we don't have motorized in the parks, thank God, but they can be very quiet. And if they come up behind you and then suddenly, they're yelling at you to get out of the way because they're having to brake to avoid hitting you. I agree with you. That's
Okay, let's try to keep this thing on topic. We are, we're kind of segueing off the trail and heading out into the weeds here. So let's try to get back onto the topic and everything. All right, thank you.
I'll go with Jen. I think I saw your hand up, and then Don will go after that.
Great, thanks. I just had a question, and maybe this would also help clarify some of the confusion around the fees. But for a point of clarity, as I see in the document, it looks like there is a flat fee per day for a lot of the picnic shelters. And then am I understanding correctly, then there is a layered fee on top of that, depending on what type of usage it is, that would be hourly? Or is that not a correct understanding of that?
So two different things. Picnic shelters, those are a flat day rate. The only time would be and then park events, sorry, are hourly. But let's say, for example, Silverdale Waterfront Park, where Whaling Days happens, if they would have their hourly rental for that event. That would include that whole park, but they wouldn't have we're not an attack on the picnic shelter fee plus the hourly rental. Let's say South Kitsap Regional Park, they have the picnic shelter there. It would just be the picnic shelter rental. There's not the hourly rental fees for use of that picnic shelter.
Got it. Okay, thanks for clarifying.
They're two
Yep.
separate policies, two different uses, two different fees. And Don?
Thank you, Alex, for the comments. So I was on the committee last year when we started this process, and it was much more complicated and convoluted for some of these fee structures. So I think the changes you've made, I do think they're much more easily understood. And I have a feeling they might be easier for you as staff to like track and do those things. The one area I still kind of have some issues with personally are the picnic shelters. And I totally understand why you only rent them basically out once per day. You and I had a discussion today about how it's difficult to get crew out there to clean up after one event to prepare for the next one. But it's still just, and I know the price may be comparable for a whole day event, but it seems to be that, I don't know, I'm totally wrong, but I'm assuming you'll be tracking if picnic shelter rentals go down or remain the same, if people tend to go ahead and do the whole day. But if I were renting, I'd want to go probably the shorter time frame and the shorter price for most of my events. But I totally understand why you're doing it. So that's just one thing I keep thinking about. But I also wanted to let everybody know that when I was talking to Alex earlier today, and I've heard her talk about this in other meetings, is that her main goal is really to work with the community and the organization that has an event. And her goal is to solve the problem. So talk to her about what your needs are, and she'll come up with a way to work with you to accommodate what you need, or if it's a special request on how to do something differently that's not exactly in the policy, that they'll work out with you, hopefully some way. So I was really impressed with how they've gone through the policy and worked through it and made the changes. So I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing.
Thank you, Dawn. And just real quick, I did pull up my comparison worksheet where we researched what other parks departments charge for picnic shelter rentals. And just for kind of awareness, Whatcom County Parks, they charge, depending on the shelter type, anywhere from $50 to $330 a day for shelters. Snohomish County Parks goes from anywhere from $55 to $165. Tacoma Parks is $100 to $250 a day for picnic shelter rentals. City or Seattle Parks is $110 to $160 a day. And then King County Parks goes $135 per shelter per day. So again, our fees are, what we're proposing is right in line with what research and the comparisons we did when we were researching this.
Quick question. Did you research the state and parks and so on that are in the area, like Scenic Beach, picnic area?
Not that one specifically.
Well, there's some other ones. There's one up north also that are, state parks that have facilities available for rent. I think, doing a comparison, because the one at Scenic Beach does have power, and it does have, it doesn't have running water in a sink. That's the only thing it doesn't have.
Yeah, I can look into that, but yeah, we did quite a few, tried to pull a large, broad network of entities to look at in our research that were comparable to what we offer. So that is what I have, unless there are any other questions.
Okay, so my dumb question is, what's your timeline on this, Alex?
Well, if we are looking at getting this done this year for implementation in 2026, Alex, I think we were looking at, we had to have it on the commissioner's agenda in November.
Since this has been before the Parks Advisory Board in the past, we were hoping that this would be an easy presentation-ish with updates that are in alignment with comments and feedback that were received from the board in the past. and that it's had kind of the two thumbs up from the subcommittee and looking for, again, a recommendation from the Parks Advisory Board to move this forward. If the Parks Advisory Board is not comfortable moving this forward, then we need to know what it would take to get there at this point.
Well, that's all I needed, Alex. I was wanting to know whether we were going to bind this over to November, whether we were going to make a possible move on it today. I would entertain a motion to advance this to the Board of County Commissioners, keeping in mind, folks, this is not the perfect plan. It's much, much better than we looked at much earlier. And it can always be adjusted as warts develop. It's not cast in stone. Okay, so I would entertain a motion to move this forward. Dawn, thank you for the motion. Do we have a second? Okay, Jen, we have a motion and a second. So we've already done a little bit of debating and stuff, but do we have any final comments before I call it to a vote? I'm not hearing a pounding on my door, or my screen didn't light up. So I would say all in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. We have 3 yeses. Opposed? Nancy, were you raising your hand? Was that your hand raised voting in favor, voting against, or did you have a comment?
It was voting to move it forward.
Voting to move it forward. Okay, so we have unanimous consent from the quorum here to move it forward. So Alex, move it forward.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Appreciate
much,
it all.
folks.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, just throw a little extra in our volunteer paycheck this week, okay?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I do believe that Little Big Alex now is up for a Tidelands easement.
Can everyone see the screen?
Gotcha.
Okay. So we have a couple shorter topics before you that I will run through real quick. These are more informational at this point than not looking for a decision or recommendation from the board on these items. So at Port Gamble Forest Heritage Park, the park itself sits adjacent just south to the Port Gamble town site that on this map is at the north end in the green hash marked area. This area historically, as most people know, was a lumber mill owned by Pope Resources. Pope was required by the state of Washington to do site mitigation, and they are still working on that long-term project. A component of the site mitigation was doing restoration work within the tidelands. The mitigation work that they did within the tidelands that includes their embankments along the shorelines of the town site extended over into tidelands that are adjacent to the park's parcel, and it overlaps a portion of tidelands that the county owns as part of the park. And that area lies within the red circle that is on the screen on the map. This restoration work for the tidelands, this eelgrass work that they did for habitat improvement is complete at this point. And now, following the completion of this, the Port Gamble Sklallam tribe is interested in placing a conservation easement over the top of the tidelands that have been restored. The portion of the tideland restoration project that is owned on property owned by DNR, by Washington's Department of Natural Resources, they have already agreed to place the easement over their tidelands. And now there is a small portion that overlaps the tidelands owned by Kitsap County. And that is on the map that is on the screen, as well as the map that is included along with the write-up in the packet that you all received. The tideland easement that is being proposed does place some restrictions on the property. We're very early stages here, have not gotten into the specifics of what the restrictions are, other than passive recreation will still be allowed along the beachfront, so long as whatever the activity is, whether it's fly fishing, placing a kayak into the water, clamming along the beach, so long as whatever that passive use impact is, does not place any type of harm on the restoration site. And so that's kind of the basics of what the easement would do. And this was presented to the commissioners recently, and the commissioners are in favor of moving this forward. And so at this point, we are now going to engage in conversation about what the specific details of an easement might look like. And that's kind of it on this topic. If there are questions or comments, happy to entertain, but kind of early days on this one. Okay. The next item I wanted to bring to your attention is another state. Well, this is a state of Washington WashDOT project. They are doing a few different locations in Kitsap doing fish barrier removal projects. And there is one project that is in the design phase currently that is to remove box culverts under Mile Hill Road or State Route 166 down in this yellow circle area in the map on the screen to improve the fish habitat for Olney Creek. So State of Washington contracted with Kiewit Construction. Kiewit is doing the design for this, and they explored 4 different alternatives for how to accomplish the removal of the box culverts to expand and improve this passage for fish habitat. There is a big challenge with this location in that the box culverts are 45 feet underneath the roadbed. So it is an extremely steep embankment from the road down to the creek, causing some challenges for how they approach this. Kiewit came up with 4 different alternatives that they have previously talked with the city of Port Orchard about. There's one other caveat to this, and that is this county park is fully within the boundaries of the city of Port Orchard. So they came up with 4 different alternatives. 2 of those alternatives require constructing a bypass road. One to the north is one option. Option 3 on the screen is building this bypass road to the south. And I'll get into some details on this in a minute. The other 2 options, and their first choice, was a complete closure of Mile Hill Road or State Route 166 and they had a traffic reroute proposal that they took to the city of Port Orchard. This was their primary chosen alternative for the project. The city of Port Orchard denied that. They would not agree to it because of traffic congestion concerns with the reroute requirement that this would require. The fourth alternative, or alternative number 4, is a staged approach, which would be to close half of the road at a time while they're doing the construction work of replacing the box culverts. This alternative was deemed not feasible because of the 45 feet below the road grade that the box culverts are. That just from a support, a safety, and a structural perspective, this was just not going to work. Their then chosen alternative has an impact on Veterans Memorial Park. And this is that bypass to the north end of the State Route 166. What this is on the screen is constructing a road, a bridge over the creek with a paved road and two-way traffic going across this to basically remove traffic from the construction zone in the hash mark on the map here so that they could do the work. Once the work is complete, they would then remove the bridge, remove the road, and rehabilitate the site. My chicken scratch on the screen here shows the impact to Veterans Memorial Park. The green outline here is the boundary for Veterans Memorial Park. The yellow line is the project boundary from the maps that they shared. And then the red is the impact from the road with the bridge construction and the roadway getting constructed partway through the park and then across private property with this bottom corner here. So this is, I can tell you that Parks's initial response to this was, oh, heck no, we don't want a road going through the park. This is crazy talk. And so we pushed back and asked them to go back to the city of Port Orchard and explore the traffic reroute. We also tried to redirect conversation through city leadership to leadership with the city of Port Orchard to encourage them to also re-explore this as an alternative. City of Port Orchard came back once again and indicated that they were not interested in the traffic reroute option, and they were fine with the impact to Veterans Memorial Park. This information that I just shared was then taken to the commissioners recently, and the commissioners are not super pleased with the proposal on the table either, and they are going to, in their own level of engagement, go back to see about having a conversation with the city of Port Orchard and WSDOT about our concerns. So I don't know exactly where this might end up, but for the time being, just want to make the Parks Advisory Board aware that this conversation, this potential impact to our South End Park is underway and is being had.
What's that blue line, Alex?
That's Olney Creek. So that is
a creek.
Yeah, that's the creek underneath the Mile Hill Road. And it is underneath here. I don't know if you can see my cursor on the screen. This is where the box culverts are that need to be replaced. So they would be rerouting traffic this way, shut down the road. Oops, sorry. So they could excavate this to remove the box culverts and improve the fish passage. I mean, for the record, the county and parks are fully in favor of the habitat restoration project. We're just trying to also mitigate impacts to Veterans Memorial Park.
Alex.
Don? Oh, so I see Don's hand up, but I'm hearing somebody else, but not seeing it on the screen.
Oh, that was Nancy. I'm struggling with my phone to get my hand up. I was just going to ask who owns the land to the left of the green line.
It's an automotive shop. It's privately owned. I'm not exactly sure who it is, but I know that the Washed Out's been in conversation with those folks as well. Don?
So the project boundary goes quite a ways up there, like into the park, and I'm assuming that means that during the normal construction to the restoration, that whole area could be impacted anyway, needing, trees removed, whatnot, I don't know if they're remandering or what all the project goes. So were they then thinking they would remove that road completely, the added road, the bypass, that would be totally then removed and restoration would be, yeah.
Yeah, no, you're accurate. That is what they have indicated in the proposal, that the road would be temporary, as well as the bridge over the creek there, and that would be removed after the project is complete and the site would be rehabilitated.
And I'm sure they've done comparisons about the cost of rerouting and the cost to, I mean, monetary and to the citizens of rerouting versus adding the bypass there. And they keep coming back to the bypass is better, or?
No, the construction company's position is that the design company, Kiewit doesn't do the construction, they're designing the project. This bypass construction is much, much, much more expensive than a complete closure with the traffic reroute, which is why that was their chosen alternative from the beginning. But that has been shot down by City of Port Orchard, not supported by City of Port Orchard because of the traffic reroute and congestion concerns.
And I'm also assuming that adding that reroute there also has a greater impact on, well, the stream, because they're impacting a bigger area than just the culvert replacement. Has there been any mention about that comparison?
I'm not sure about, that's a good question about environmental impacts to install the bypass versus, I'm not sure if
And
they've
then
done.
remove it again too.
Yeah, and then remove it. It's a good question. I don't have an answer on that one.
I have a couple questions again. I did get my hand up though.
Yeah, no, go for it, Nancy.
So first off, the land adjacent, how is it zoned? If it belongs to an auto place, is it commercial property?
I believe it's commercial. I would imagine
Okay.
since it's commercial operated.
So you could pretty much count on eventually that's going to be cleared. I mean, if it's commercial. But I'm trying to think outside the box here. Instead of removing the bypass, could that not be a parking lot and viewing access for the creek for the park after they're done?
It is definitely an out of the box thought. Yeah, I don't have an answer for you, Nancy. This is it's a creative idea. I know that the commissioners are also trying to be creative with their approach to this, but I don't really know where it might end up.
I'm just thinking the construction company would probably be a lot happier converting that to a parking lot area and afterward, and not having to completely tear it out and try and repair and, try and take advantage of the opportunity to add another access point to the park.
Yeah, currently we don't have There's definitely not an official vehicular access at the south end of the park here. All of our parking is up here that comes off of Retzel Road.
Oh, okay.
And that's where, usually or generally the northern half of the park is where the activities take place. We don't really have anything in the southern area. Actually, this little driveway right here, this is the old road that used to come through here when this was owned by the military, and this was a military housing site many, many years ago. But yeah,
Well, just a thought.
no, it's interesting idea. So, any other comments, questions, and happy to, take forth ideas too, to share with the commissioners for their conversations that they're going to engage in. Okay. Well, thank you all very much. Those were the two things I just wanted to bring to your attention today. And as those evolve, I will come back before you with updated information on both items.
Well, thanks, Alex. Appreciate that. You want to go on into director's report now? Knowing that we've got 15 minutes left of our scheduled time.
Yeah, I don't have any other items to share. These were the three primary topics that I wanted to present to the commissioners this evening. So if there are additional comments or questions regarding any of the other topics in the report, happy to chat about them.
Well, sounds like we've got a cricket convention going there.
Great. Well, thanks, Larry.
Certainly. Hey, here for you, boss. Budget update. Want to finish running our day? You want to finish running our day now that we're fixing to plow down Veterans Park and make my commute a living hell?
Almost forgot this one was on there. And actually, this is good news. So this is a perfect opportunity to end the meeting in a good place. Since 2 months ago, we had a very challenging presentation about budget and staffing cuts and all these reductions. Through the commissioners' budget meetings over the last couple months, they have made the decision to restore all of our park seasonal positions. So yes, you will recall it's $125,000 value of 5 summer seasonal positions to support maintenance and operations and our events programming. So we are super, super excited and very happy for the support from the commissioners to restore that funding and reduce our budget impact as we move into 2026. And that was it, Larry. Just wanted to share that piece of good information because all the other budget information was not so happy.
Yay. Yay. I was in a Senate hearing or Senate committee meeting last week that the budget outlook was not nearly as good as that. So I needed some good news to start this week. Thank you. Okay. We've had no subcommittee meeting since our last advisory board, so we're to district representative reports. Who's got something? Yes. Lisa, I see your hand waving.
All right, you didn't say Lisa, so yay. So I did want to bring up at the Stottlemyre parking lot, I mentioned it earlier about the big, extra big holes at that parking lot again, around that corner. Yeah, it makes it really hard to like get in and out of that parking lot with those big holes. There's 3 things I want to bring up. 2, the second thing I already mentioned was no bike signs at all, no speed limit signs, nothing. So that trailhead really needs to be looked at, and something needs to be done there with signage just to, let bikers know that there are other people that use that trail. And also, one last thing, up by Coyote Trail, where I guess WTA went in and put in those big like overpass or whatever they're called, turnpikes or whatnot. They left a bunch of like 6x10s or 8x12s, I don't know, big treated timbers just in the bushes. I mean, they're, what a waste of money. I mean, they're probably $100 a piece, and there's 3 of them right at the top of the trailhead, just thrown in the bushes. And I noticed further down where they actually had a staging area at one point, they had put some cross pieces and stacked a few of the extra, timber on those, which is an appropriate way to store timber. So I didn't know, now that you have the seasonal people again or something, somebody's got to get up there and pull those out of the bushes and maybe set them on that staging area, just so they're not like, it's not a waste of money of lumber just thrown in the bushes. And you know how bushes grow, it will just take over that pretty soon and they'll be lost. So just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Nancy, you got your hand in the air.
Central Kitsap. I just want to say that I got pictures tonight from Frank Strickland from Newberry Hill, that now I'm trying to think the name of the trail. Anyway, it's actually the start of the turkey trot, and it was extremely muddy last year. We had put down a lot of straw to try and mitigate that, but yesterday the county provided 5/8 minus material to put down, and it looks beautiful, and I think it's going to be a big improvement for this year's run on that trail.
Cool. By the way, ping me the information on that, because I might be feeling up to trying to do a turkey trot myself, and I've been looking for one.
Oh, 8 a.m.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving morning. Register online if you the running.
Nancy, I'm going to sleep tonight, and I will forget all that stuff. If you could.
All right, I'll send it to you.
You know me. Dawn, did I see your hand in the air?
No, but it should be, so it is now. I just wanted to say that I'm kind of excited, as I'm sure the rest of you park stewards are, that Parks is starting to roll out their stewardship program, and they've got some of the layout planned, and they're starting to meet with stewards in different parks. And Coulter Creek, I think, is the very first park that gets to meet with park staff and find out how the communication is going and what's going to be happening. So I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, Lisa, one more time.
Yeah, one more time. I wanted to put out a big thank you too for restoring the toilets at the Arnest beach. Yeah, people were really upset about that. So I've already gotten many calls that they're happy about, that they heard that they're going to get the toilet back in the garbage can. So thank you for that.
Just a quick second on that. Yes, thank you.
Any other news? I mean, I used my big news earlier in the meeting and everything, the fact that I actually sat down with our South End commissioner, and we had a nice long conversation, and he seems to be very willing to take some, get dynamically involved with the conversations at Banner. But so, for everybody that's listening in, and that's he's kind of set himself up to, in my eyes, to be our point of contact on this issue for the time as we move forward into this. So, woohoo! Never thought I'd see that, where a politician say, "Hey, here's a target, put it on me." But there's that. So, that being said, let's see, what else do we have left on our agenda? Any public comments in the queue, Dee?
I am not. I do have one public comment, and it is Joe Lubisher allowing you to talk. Go ahead.
Hi, Joe.
Okay, several comments here. I have three on the events planning. So first question is, what's the threshold for a group needing a permit? And is that park specific? How many people does it take to constitute a requirement for an event? I did look, I didn't find anything in the documentation on that. It seems that some criteria is terribly important, and it's likewise, it needs to be park specific. That's my first point. Second point is the fee schedule for events is not equitable with respect to impacts and size of group. This was a point I raised almost a year ago. So looking at a couple of events, let's say the Native Plant Society wants to bring a group out for a half-day walk. It's going to cost them 4 times 37 bucks. Say there are 15 of them, that costs them about 10 bucks a head for a very low impact usage. On the other hand, the Gamble Graveler that's scheduled for next year, they are going to they have 350 slots. It's going to cost each person $1.30 out of their $65 entry fee. So the sponsor is charging just about $23,000, and the parks is getting nothing of that to speak of. So the change from 25 bucks to say 8 hours times 57, 500 bucks is really inconsequential. And the trail damage, the high speeds, the inconvenience to users, there's just no comparison. So I just don't see how the fee schedule reflects the actual usage. And that leads to my third comment, which Lisa partially raised, which is safety. There already is, and we've been raising the issue for several years now, that bikers don't yield, even though it's posted all over all the parks. And giving the bike racers, carte blanche to run people off the trails in a race just makes that situation worse. And of course, the speeds are way over the county 10-mile-an-hour speed limit. So this is an ongoing issue. We wanted to see it addressed in the pros plan. It did not, but something's got to give here. We need some different, we need to address the issue, the conflicts between fast bikers and pedestrians. And people have suggested multiple ways this can be done, but it's going to keep, it's going to keep coming up. I've got friends who I say, well, let's take this walk in Port Gamble. And they say, nah, too many bikers up there. This is a reality and it needs to be addressed, guys. So I would like to I wish you'd put that on your calendar. Changing topics, there was an important item on RCO conversions. So conversion is an illegal action by the county, usually, that results in penalties that should be enforced. With North Kitsap Park, I've been bringing this up for 4 years now. So I'd like to know what actually is going on. I don't think the short table really gives us any information.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. D, anybody else?
I am not seeing any. No, I take it back. So sorry. Allowing you to talk. This is Carol, and go ahead.
Good evening. I was taken by surprise, pleasant surprise, that Eglon now has a sign. I went to the celebration and it's called Eglon Forest Park. And I was curious to know why it's not a heritage park. this is more of a comment because we're not allowed to ask questions, but I don't understand that. I don't understand what the difference is and what's going to happen to Eglon in the future. And when I see the map of the thinning for that park, it is expansive. It's huge. I see that there will be thinning in the area where the 130-year-old trees are. That bothers me very much and concerns me. So I think I'm hoping that we can all talk to each other about this because it's disturbing. But I'm grateful that the sign got put up and that we have a new park. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dee, anybody else?
There does not appear to be anyone else with public comment.
All righty. Well, thank you very much. There's only one thing left on my agenda. That calls for a motion to
Larry,
adjourn.
there is someone who has last minute raised their hand. If you are willing to take the last comment.
We never had a motion, so let's do it.
All right. Kathy, I am now allowing you to talk.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Kathy, gotcha.
Oh, good. Thanks. I do want to bring up one thing that at least what Joe just mentioned about conversion. I think there's a lot of concern in many of the parks around the county about the potential for the Parks Department to convert parks land that has been gifted to them by various avenues to sell off parts of the park at some point down the road. And I think that Joe does bring up a good point about that. And I think there's some concern about conservation easements, how they work. RCO grants have specific language that I recently discovered that does state there's like a backdoor, a conversion clause to trade parts of RCO granted property for elsewhere. The language isn't clear where they can trade it. And I would like to see that addressed in the long term, is how are our parks protected from future conversion? And that's just my comment at this point.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, I will now entertain a motion to adjourn. Hello. I know my microphone's on. I will entertain a motion to adjourn from one of the members of the advisory board.
I'll make I move to adjourn.
Dawn moves. Who's our second?
I'll second.
Lisa has a second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your physical hand. We have a majority. We will stand adjourned. Thank you very much for your time. Sorry, I owe you 2 minutes of my volunteer pay. Okay, folks. Y'all have a wonderful rest of your day and you have a great weekend.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.